So think about what happens the exact moment you type the end on a manuscript. You hit that final keystroke, you lean back in your chair, and for most people, the dream basically stops right there.
Oh, absolutely. It's like the writing is done, so the job must be done, right?
Exactly. But we know that's not true.
Yeah, which is exactly why so many brilliant manuscripts just die in obscurity. Or worse, they bleed out like up to 70% of their potential royalties simply because of poor digital management.
Wow, 70%.
Yeah, easily. Because in the modern digital era, typing the end really just means you are exactly 50% of the way there. Like the creative journey is over, but the mechanical journey, that has just begun.
And navigating that mechanical journey is exactly what we're focusing on today for you, the listener. We are doing a deep dive into the eBook Publisher's Handbook by MD Abdul Ahad Shanto, who is known professionally as AlwaysBeSmile.
Yes, a fantastic resource.
It really is. Now, to be clear right up front, we are not unpacking a creative writing guide today.
Right, no.
This isn't about, character arcs or pacing or world building. We're looking at this source material as a pure step-by-step technical blueprint for independent creators.
Because that's what's missing for a lot of people.
Exactly. This is about establishing a professional identity, protecting your intellectual property, and actually achieving global digital distribution.
Because, the digital era has completely dismantled those old gatekeepers. You don't need permission from a traditional publishing house to get your work out there anymore.
Which is amazing, right? It's incredible freedom.
It is. But that absolute freedom comes with a very specific and honestly often overwhelming responsibility. You are no longer just a writer, you are a publisher.
Right.
And managing your intellectual property, optimizing your metadata, understanding how search algorithms work, all of that is just as critical to your success as the actual prose you wrote.
That mindset shift is massive. It's huge. Because before a single digital copy can even be sold, you have to verify who is actually selling it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. The author profile.
Right. We're talking about claiming your digital real estate across the major platforms. So Amazon Author Central, Google Play Books Partner Center, Apple Books for Authors, and Goodreads.
Yeah, all the big ones.
And this isn't just about having a nice profile picture next to your book. The handbook makes it clear that if you don't aggressively claim these spaces, you're leaving your digital identity entirely up for grabs.
Precisely. Because in the traditional model, an entire department handled your metadata.
The publisher did all that.
Right. They handled the background information that defines your book, your author name, your biography, your keywords, everything. Today, if you don't centralize that yourself, your digital presence becomes completely fragmented.
It's like the analogy I like to use is it's like building this really high-end professional storefront in a massive digital mall, but you forget to put your verified name on the door.
Yes, exactly.
And if you don't claim it, someone else might literally set up a messy little tent using your exact name right in the middle of the food court. So readers come looking for you, they find the messy tent, they get super confused, and they just leave.
And, the consequences of that messy tent go way beyond just a confused reader. It deeply impacts the underlying technology of the internet.
Like search engines.
Specifically, Google search engine optimization, yeah. Maintaining strict, unyielding consistency across all of these author profiles is directly linked to how search engines perceive your authority.
Okay, wait, when you say strict consistency, what do you mean?
I mean using the exact same spelling of your name, the identical author photo, and the exact same biographical copy everywhere. No variation.
Okay, I understand keeping the name consistent, obviously, but why does having the exact same headshot and bio across, say, Apple, Google, and Amazon matter so much to a search engine? Who cares if I use a different picture?
It comes down to how algorithms compile entities, specifically for features like Google Knowledge Panels.
Okay, the Knowledge Panel. That's the detailed info box you see on the right side of a desktop search when you look up a public figure, right?
Exactly. Search engines are essentially highly advanced pattern matching machines. They don't read your bio like a human does to understand context. They crawl the web looking for data points that match perfectly.
Ah, I see.
So when the Google bot crawls the internet and sees the identical name, bio, and photo on Amazon, and then it sees that exact same data cluster on Goodreads and Apple and your personal website, it connects the dots, it verifies you as a single legitimate entity, a recognized public figure.
So if I use John A. Smith with a professional headshot on Amazon, But then I use JSmith with a picture of my dog on Goodreads.
The algorithm literally doesn't know you're the same person.
Wow. So it just splits my authority.
It splits it right down the middle. You essentially become two completely different, very weak entities in the eyes of the search engine. By keeping your metadata perfectly consistent, you feed the algorithm exactly what it needs to consolidate your authority.
Which elevates you above the noise.
Exactly. In a very crowded global market, you are literally training the machine to recognize you as a brand.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Right.
But even if your digital real estate is flawlessly optimized, right, and the search engines know exactly who you are, you still hit this purely mathematical roadblock.
The distribution problem.
Right, because there are hundreds of digital storefronts globally. Uploading, formatting, and managing a manuscript for every single one of them manually, that would take like 100 hours a week.
Easily. It's a full-time job.
So how does a single independent publisher actually stock the global shelves without completely losing their mind?
That is the ultimate distribution dilemma. And the handbook breaks it down beautifully. You essentially have two paths to solve this: direct distribution or aggregator distribution.
Okay, let's break those down.
So direct publishing is going straight to the source. You log into Amazon KDP or Google Playbooks and you manually upload your files.
Right.
You maintain absolute granular control over your listing, and you capture the highest possible royalties, often up to 70%.
Which is great. But like we said, the math on the time investment is brutal. I mean, if you find a typo in, say, Chapter 3, you have to log into every single platform globally and re-upload the file one by one.
Yes, it is tedious, which leads to the aggregator model.
Okay, so aggregators. These are platforms like Draft2 Digital, Publish Drive, or StreetLib, right?
Exactly.
I'm looking at these aggregator networks in the book, and they are pushing files to 100 countries at once. It's basically like hiring a massive global delivery fleet instead of, driving a single truck to every bookstore in the world yourself.
That's a perfect analogy.
So I upload my manuscript to Draft2 Digital just once. And suddenly it's in a library in Australia, a storefront in Germany, and on a Barnes & Noble Nook in the U.S.
All from one click.
But they're a business, not a charity. To make this global fleet operational, they have to be taking a significant cut of my back-end royalties.
They do. Aggregators typically take a 10 to 20% commission on your net royalties. Yeah, and you also sacrifice a small degree of agility. Like if you want to drop the price of your book for a quick weekend sale, an aggregator might take 2 or 3 days to push that update across their entire global network.
Oh, wow. So you might miss the weekend entirely.
Right, whereas if you uploaded directly to Amazon, that price change would be live in just a few hours.
So it's this constant battle between time and money. Do I want to keep all my royalties and spend my whole week uploading files, or do I want to pay a premium for effortless global reach?
You'd think it has to be one or the other, but the most successful independent authors utilize a hybrid strategy.
A hybrid strategy?
Yeah, it's the strategic sweet spot the handbook recommends. The approach is to publish directly to the major powerhouses. So Amazon KDP, Google Playbooks, and Kobo.
Okay, because those are the big ones.
Exactly. Those are the specific platforms that generally drive the vast majority of direct consumer sales. You want to keep that full 70% royalty and maintain total agility over your pricing on those high-volume stores.
That makes sense.
And then you use your aggregator, your global delivery fleet, to handle the long tail. So Apple Books, the smaller international retail networks, and the massive library systems.
So you maximize your profit where the volume is highest and automate your reach everywhere else.
Yeah.
I love that. That sounds incredibly efficient.
It is.
But knowing how these databases operate, what happens if I accidentally overlap? Say I upload my book directly to Amazon to get that 70%, but then I forget to uncheck the Amazon box on my Draft2 Digital dashboard.
Oh, man. That is the single biggest technical pitfall you can encounter in this entire process.
The duplicate upload.
With duplicate upload. If you send a book to Amazon directly and your aggregator also sends a feed to Amazon, you create a massive system conflict.
What happens?
Well, Amazon's entire catalog is built on ASIN's Amazon Standard Identification Numbers. When they receive 2 feeds for the exact same book from 2 different distributors, the algorithm doesn't just merge them together.
It doesn't.
No, it creates 2 completely separate ASINs.
Oh, wow. So there are literally 2 identical versions of my book competing against each other in the store.
Exactly, and that splits your sales velocity.
Explain that.
So if 10 people buy the direct version and 10 people buy the aggregator version, the Amazon algorithm just sees 2 mediocre books that sold 10 copies each pushing both of them down in the search rankings.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't know they're the same.
Exactly. If they had been consolidated, the algorithm would see one hot book that sold 20 copies and it would push it up.
That's brutal.
And it gets worse. Furthermore, having two identical files live often triggers automated bot sweeps that look for plagiarism or spam.
Wait, really?
Mm.
You can get flagged for plagiarizing yourself.
Yes, your book can be flagged, your reviews can be completely wiped out, or the title can be pulled from the store entirely for violating terms of service. Precision is absolutely non-negotiable here. If you go hybrid, you must manually uncheck those powerhouse stores on your aggregator dashboard.
Okay, so precision is key. The hybrid strategy is locked in, and we've carefully avoided the duplicate upload trap. So now our digital books are flying across the world to hundreds of stores and international library systems.
Right.
But if I've got this massive delivery fleet pushing files into Tokyo, London, and Sydney simultaneously, how do these massive institutional databases actually track the inventory? Like, how does a library in the UK know that my ebook is the exact same intellectual property being sold in Japan?
That relies on the absolute foundation of all professional publishing.
The ISBN.
The International Standard Book Number.
Exactly.
It's essentially a digital passport, right?
That's a great way to put it.
Just like I need a unique passport to cross international borders, the book needs an ISBN to be categorized in the global digital ecosystem. But the handbook has a really strict rule here, which is that every single format of the book requires its own unique 13-digit code.
Yes.
So an EPU file can't just cross the border into a library database using the paperback's ISBN.
That is perfectly stated. An ebook gets one ISBN. A paperback gets a completely different ISBN. The hardcover gets a third. The audiobook gets a fourth.
Wow, okay.
And the reason for this incredibly strict cataloging is because of where these numbers actually reside. They aren't just for retail stores, you know. They feed into massive centralized archival databases. We are talking about Google Books, Open Library, and most importantly, WorldCat.
Right, WorldCat, which connects something like 10,000 libraries globally, right?
Over 10,000. So when a librarian is deciding whether to allocate budget to acquire your book, they are not searching Amazon.
Or not.
No, they are looking at WorldCat. They are pulling MIRC records machine-readable cataloging. The ISBN is what guarantees your book's professional legitimacy within those institutional systems.
So it's basically proof that you're a real book.
Exactly. It proves to a librarian or a retailer that this isn't just like a random text file floating on the internet. It is a formally cataloged piece of intellectual property.
Which brings up a really deceptive trap regarding how you acquire that digital passport. Because earlier we talked about aggregators.
Yes.
And almost every aggregator will offer you a free ISBN when you upload your file. It's heavily advertised, right? Publish with us, get a free ISBN. It sounds like an amazing way to save money.
Free is always tempting. But in publishing, free always costs you control.
Always.
Always. The trap here revolves around a concept called the publisher of record. When an aggregator gives you a free ISBN, their company name is legally attached to that barcode in all of those global databases we just talked about. They are listed as the publisher of record for that specific edition.
Wait, does that mean they own the book?
No. You still own the copyright to your words. You own the intellectual property, but you do not own the barcode. You don't own the catalog listing.
Oh, I see.
Which means if you decide, say, 2 years from now, that you want to leave that aggregator and move your catalog to a different platform, you cannot take that ISBN with you.
You have to leave it behind.
You have to unpublish the book entirely, secure a brand new ISBN, and start entirely from scratch. You lose all the institutional sales history connected to that original barcode.
Wow. So to maintain true independence, you really have to buy your own.
Absolutely. The recommendation is unequivocal. To maintain ultimate, lifelong control over your intellectual property, you must purchase your own ISBNs from your country's official agency.
So in the United States, that agency is Boker.
Right. And in the UK, it's Nielsen. When you buy your own block of ISBNs, your personal brand or your own LLC goes into WorldCat as the publisher of record, not the aggregator.
Which looks way more professional.
Exactly. Librarians and retailers see your imprint. It signals that you are a serious, established entity.
Okay, so let's recap where we are. We own our ISBNs. We are officially the publisher of record. We are indexed in WorldCat, Google Books, and 10,000 libraries. The metadata is absolutely pristine.
The foundation is set.
Right. But here is the brutal, unavoidable reality of the internet. Availability does not equal discoverability.
Very true.
just because my book is sitting in a database somewhere doesn't mean a single human being is actually going to check it out or buy it.
Mhm.
So once all this mechanical setup is done, how do readers actually find the book?
In the digital ecosystem, discoverability is driven almost entirely by one engine: user reviews.
Reviews.
Yeah. Platforms like Goodreads, BookBub, and the Amazon ecosystem itself, they run on this. But as an independent publisher, you have to fundamentally shift how you view a review.
Right, because it's so easy to view reviews as, like, a judgment of your soul, especially for fiction writers. It feels entirely personal.
It does. It absolutely
Yeah.
does. But you have to divorce your ego from the process. Reviews are not just critiques, they are algorithmic fuel.
Algorithmic fuel.
Yes. When Amazon or Apple Books is deciding which books to feature in their recommended for you carousels, or which books to push to the top of a search result for a specific genre, human beings aren't reading those books to decide which is best.
Obviously not, yeah.
The algorithm is looking purely at engagement metrics. A steady, consistent stream of readers leaving ratings and reviews signals to the machine that this product successfully retains attention and satisfies customers.
Okay, I understand the mechanics of that, but I have a really hard time accepting this purely mathematical view of reviews.
Why is that?
Well, if I spend 2 years pouring my life into a manuscript, right, and a reader leaves a 3-star review saying, the pacing in the middle was boring, but the ending was okay. My instinct is to panic. It feels like a permanent stain on the storefront. You're telling me the algorithm actually rewards that? How does a highly critical review actually help my book's discoverability?
It helps immensely because algorithms are incredibly suspicious of perfection.
Really?
Yes, what the algorithm measures is social proof and authenticity. A 3-star review is genuine, measurable engagement. It proves to the bot that a real human being bought the book, read it, and cared enough to interact with the platform.
So it validates the product.
Exactly. A book that has a 4.3-star average, backed by a mix of 5, 4, and 3-star reviews, looks completely authentic to the machine. It triggers the algorithm to push the book higher. Conversely, if a book drops with 50 perfect 5-star ratings and nothing else, the bot assumes you bought fake reviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it flags the profile as suspicious.
That makes a lot of sense. The algorithm is basically looking for proof of life, not just praise.
Exactly. And beyond the algorithmic benefit, the most successful independent authors utilize that critical feedback structurally.
What do you mean by structurally?
Well, if you get 5 different 3-star reviews all complaining that chapter 4 is too slow, you now have actionable, highly specific market data. Because you are an independent digital publisher who controls your own files, you have the agility to go into your manuscript, edit chapter 4, fix the pacing, and upload a new version globally in 24 hours.
That is insane. You can literally patch your book the way developers patch software.
You really can. You use the reviews as a long-term diagnostic tool rather than a short-term critique of your talent.
Being able to patch a published novel like a video game is wild to think about.
Yeah.
But to get that data, you have to get the reviews in the first place.
Right.
How do you consistently generate that algorithmic fuel without resorting to shady tactics? Because buying fake reviews is an absolute death sentence.
Oh, it's the fastest way to ruin your career. Buying reviews violates the terms of service of every major platform. The algorithms are highly sophisticated now. They track IP addresses, purchasing patterns, and user histories.
Yeah.
They absolutely know. If they detect a bot farm leaving reviews on your book, your title gets pulled, your account gets banned, and your digital reputation is permanently destroyed. It is a short-term cheat that destroys a long-term legacy.
So how do we get real ones? What's the strategy?
The handbook points out that the most effective, actionable strategy is optimizing the end-of-book experience.
Okay.
You place a very short, polite, direct note on the exact final page of the ebook. You don't ask for a 5-star review, you ask for an honest review.
Just honest.
Just honest. You capture the reader at the exact moment. The emotional impact of your story is at its absolute peak, and you provide a direct hyperlink right there to the review page. You make it frictionless for them to feed the algorithm while they are still deeply immersed in your world.
It's incredible how strategic every single step of this process has to be. It's not just writing. It really brings us back to the core thesis of everything we've discussed today. If we distill all of these mechanisms down, the ultimate takeaway is this. Success in the modern literary market is absolutely not just about writing a great book.
No, it's not.
It's about expertly presenting managing, and promoting your intellectual property.
It is the complete harmonization of art and commerce. You have to be as dedicated to your metadata optimization, your ISBN management, and your global distribution strategy as you are to your prose.
Because without it, the book disappears.
Exactly. The writing is the art, but the publishing is the architecture that allows the art to survive.
Which leaves me with a somewhat provocative thought to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive.
Oh, I like those.
If metadata, algorithms, consistent naming conventions, and database indexing are the things that actually dictate what readers are exposed to, how long until future authors begin to alter their creative writing processes just to satisfy search engines? Are we heading toward a future where literature is optimized for robots and algorithms before it even reaches a human reader?
Honestly, it's a very real concern. We already see it in digital media and journalism, right? Headlines written entirely for SEO, articles structured purely for algorithmic retention.
Yeah, totally.
If an independent author knows that a specific genre keyword or a highly specific pacing structure keeps the Amazon recommendation bot happy, the temptation to write for the machine will be immense. The greatest challenge for the next generation of independent authors won't just be distribution. It will be learning how to play the algorithmic game perfectly with their metadata without letting the machine dictate the soul of their actual story.
That is the tightrope every modern creator has to walk. The mechanics shouldn't replace the magic. They should just ensure the magic actually gets delivered.
Well said.
And we want to give a massive thank you and direct credit to the author of the source material we explored today, MD Abdul Ahad Shanto.
Yes, his work breaking down these highly complex systems into an actionable, digestible blueprint is just invaluable for anyone stepping into the independent publishing space.
It really is. So we'll end this deep dive with the author's signature philosophy. It's a great encouragement to you, the listener, as you navigate this massive digital landscape. Keep learning, keep creating, and always be smile. So the next time you type the end on a project, just remember, you're not finishing the job. You're just unlocking the door to the digital storefront. See you next time.